Alright, let's see if we can get this show on the road here. It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio. And we've got some news coming to you from the idiot sphere. Leslie Jones, who was in the god-awful 2016 Ghostbusters, slamming the new film announced by Ivan Reitman's son, Jason, saying it's like something Trump would do. No, Leslie, it's not. Alright, so this comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. The actress who starred in the all-female reboot of the franchise in 2016 tweeted her disappointment about the news earlier this week that Jason Reitman will helm a new movie that will continue the story that began with the 1984 original and its 1989 sequel. In response to the news that Jason Reitman's new Ghostbusters project will continue the story that began with Ivan Reitman's 1984 original and its 1989 sequel, and ignore the female reboot from director Paul Feig in 2016, or as I like to call him, Paul Fatigue, because you get really fatigued watching this movie of his. Leslie Jones, a cast member from the latter, has voiced her disappointment on social media. The comedian on Saturday took to Twitter in a post that said, "So insulting, like, fuck us, we didn't, D-I-N-T, count. No, it's didn't, D-I-D-N apostrophe T, Leslie. Jesus fucking Christ, if you're going to take to Twitter, tweet like someone who has command of the English language, okay? They upped the character count, so you've got no excuse. But here's where she gets really stupid. It's like something Trump would do. Trump voice. Gonna redo Ghostbusters, Bitter with Men, will be huge. Those women ain't Ghostbusters, ugh, so annoying, such a dick move, and I don't give a fuck, I'm saying something. Jones, her fellow Ghostbusters co-star Melissa McCarthy, along with Reitman. So far there have been no responses from anyone involved in the new film, which has received backlash since the announcement of its intent. In England, a journalist wrote an open letter to Jason Reitman, citing his missed opportunity. Feig's Ghostbusters received... Well, Hollywood Reporter claims it was mostly positive reviews upon its release, but actually no, the movie actually bombed in the movie theaters. It did not do well. The 74% Rotten Tomatoes score really only comes from critics. The fans didn't like it much at all. In fact, let me go ahead and call up the Rolling Stone version, which gives you a little bit more insight into this. And let's see. Alright, yeah, this is taking a little bit while. Okay, here we go. Rolling Stone. And yes, by the way, this is a live stream, so we'll just wait for this to load. Alright, let's realign this real quick here. Because, yeah, this is kind of silly. Just experimenting with the format here on my browser here. Alright, so, Rolling Stone actually shows a tweet, and you can see it right here. I'll highlight it right here so you can see it. But yeah, Rolling Stone actually gives a more accurate view, saying The all-female reboot was divisive with both critics and fans of the long-running franchise. Rolling Stone said it was a genius idea to revive the long-dormant series with Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, and Jones. 3 of the Ghostbusters original cast members, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson, appeared in unrelated cameo roles in the Paul Feig-directed reboot. Alright, so earlier this week, Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the first 2 Ghostbusters films, announced plans to helm the next chapter in the original franchise. It is not a reboot. What happened in the 80s happened in the 80s, and this is set in the present day. In her tweet, Jones tagged Reitman, who as of press time has not yet responded to Jones's criticism. It's unclear whether the original film's actors or the reboot's cast will participate in the incoming film. So, yeah, this is pretty stupid, though, of Leslie Jones, because she's being a fucking imbecile here. Okay, first of all, Leslie, you were in a movie that wasn't funny. It was supposed to be a comedy. You didn't even really go with the real script. You freaking improv'd it. Your character was a stereotypical stupid black woman who basically was a walking, talking insult to black women everywhere. Completely pissed on Ernie Hudson's Winston Zentmore in the sense that, you know, he played the straight man to the comedic actors and really kind of kept them grounded. He played it respectfully. You did not play your role respectfully, so fuck you, Leslie Jones. Well, I wouldn't because you're ugly, but no. You know what? No, I'm sorry. I take that back because I shouldn't be harping on your looks there. That's a dick move on my part. I apologize. But, you know, this, I mean, this woman has really pissed me off because, you know, she participated in a project where nobody took the original material that they were adapting seriously. They pissed all over it. Pissed all over the actors who were in the original film. Poked fun at the original in a lot of ways. There's a scene in the reboot where Bill Murray has a cameo. His character apparently inquires about becoming a Ghostbusters and is killed by being thrown out a window in some kind of like paranormal experience. And Leslie Jones says, well, I guess he wasn't Ghostbusters material. Well, yes, he was actually. 35 years ago and 30 years ago, he was Ghostbusters material. He was in the first 2 films. So obviously, you know, you're being disrespectful to the original films, without which you would not have been in the reboot, because there would have been no reboot. So yeah, I mean, this is the kind of idiocy that we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, it's disrespectful to the original cast and crew. Disrespectful to the late Harold Ramis. You know, I mean, but, you know, this is the kind of thing that really kind of gives credence to the right-wing SJWs whining about left-wing SJWs. And, you know, I can't really make an argument against them because, you know, she's kind of proving what they're saying. You know, that they've inserted identity politics into it, and they're trying to hide behind that as a shield against criticism, and also use it as a club to bash critics over the head for not liking the movie. Because it was poorly written. The characters, you know, if you could call them characters, they were all cookie-cutter concepts. None of them stood out. They were all basically playing the same person. You couldn't distinguish between any of them. At least with the original films, they had separate personalities, and you pretty much tell each of them apart. I couldn't even remember which characters the women were playing. If Leslie Jones were not black, I would not be able to tell her from any of the other actresses in the lead roles, because they were all played essentially the same. And you can't do that in a film. I mean, you really have to have actual actors with actual personalities, and we're just not seeing that. So, I can't really argue against the right-wing SJWs on this because they're all playing identity politics here, and it's stupid. She's basically whining because the movie she was in was not well received by fans of the franchise. Well, why would it be received well? Neither Paul Feig nor anyone else involved in it really gave a damn. You ignored advice from Dan Aykroyd, who is a co-creator of the original film, on how to make and market the film, and you decided you knew better. And when it rightly failed at the box office, you complained and hid behind, the typical identity politics and accused people of being sexist and racist and, so I don't see why you have any right to complain here, Leslie Jones, because, you've got no leg to stand on here, all right? The fact remains that Ghostbusters was a bad movie that disrespected the original franchise, and now Jason Reitman and other people involved in the original films are doing what you should have done 3 years ago, which is to make a proper sequel to Ghostbusters that passes the torch from the old generation to the new one. If you had done that back then, you wouldn't be facing so much criticism. But you didn't. You made this like little self-indulgent improv thing where you didn't even have a real script. You just ad-libbed basically your parts without any kind of plan for what you wanted to do or what kind of movie you wanted to make or what kind of message you wanted to send. I mean, for all the flaws in the original films, and, they do have some, no film is perfect, but you got a sense of what the writers and the directors and the cast wanted to do with it and what direction they wanted to go in. But with the 2016 reboot, you got none of that because there was no direction. There was no story to tell other than this loose collection of little individual skits that are kind of strung together into a loose narrative. And you can't do that with storytelling. That mode of storytelling has never worked. And that's basically a fact. And you can confirm this fact by looking at how well such movies do compared to films that have been done before and better, that had direction, that had a coherent story. Compare the original Star Wars to The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens was basically one big exercise in self-indulgent fan service, but no real story. George Lucas, for all his storytelling flaws, had an actual story to tell and a direction for where he wanted to go with it and how he wanted it to end. But with Paul Feig, you get none of this. And so, with this, the real dick move is what Leslie Jones is pulling and what the rest of the establishment media is pulling, where they're attacking fans of the franchise because we are finally getting the movie that we have been asking to see for 30 years now. And these assholes are pissed because, they got their asses handed to them and bitch slapped at the box office and by news. And, just fuck you, Leslie Jones. You're irrelevant at this point. There's not going to be a sequel to Ghostbusters. It's not happening. Sony is not that stupid that they're going to try and do a sequel to an unpopular movie that pissed off the fans. And at least, unlike Disney Star Wars at Lucasfilm, they know not to repeat the same mistake too many times. So, yeah, Jason Reitman is going to try and fix this and do what Paul Feig should have done 3 years ago. And hopefully we'll see the rest of the original cast return. But, as far as you're concerned, Leslie Jones, you can go take a flying leap. So anyway, that's pretty much my opinion. If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. And if you want to help support the channel, head over to our Patreon page and Subscribestar page. And become a donor, help us improve the quality of the podcast, help us keep the lights on. This is Michael Wilk for the Wilk Report, saying to you, take care, good night, I'm out.